Hello everybody. Hello. Welcome to Monday night's live stream. I'm just checking that we are live on YouTube and Facebook. We are. That's really exciting. Let's just make sure. Yeah, we are live. So hello to everybody wherever you are joining from. Do let me know where you're joining from in the comments. It's been a few weeks since I've been live on a Monday with you all. We've had a couple of family holidays, which have been delightful, and half term. So slowly getting back into the rhythm of work and school and everything else in between. Summer has not yet arrived here in the UK. It's very cold, very rainy. And I miss the sunshine from Mallorca and Portugal that we had in May. Tonight, I thought I would share with you the Country Woods designer series, the Country Woods suite from the annual catalogue. I'm going to be using it for a couple of classes in July and August. One of the classes booking closes on Wednesday, so I thought I would show you a little bit more about that product suite and maybe show you a sneak peek of the class that uses the whole suite. Do ask questions in the comments. Do let me know what you think about the products, what I'm making. It's always nice to get some feedback. As always, everything I'm using can be purchased from my online store, which you can find at staceymarsh.co.uk. Throughout the month of June, you can earn an extra 10% off of bundles, which is stamps and dies or stamps and punches. There's also an additional 10% off of the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, so the die cutting machine that I'll be using. And if you spend over £45 with me throughout this month, you'll receive a kit for my monthly class, which this month is the Full of Life suite, which is really bright, really vibrant, really modern, really, really fun. So I will hop on over to my desk and share with you what I'm going to be making, and we will do a little bit of live crafting together. Okay, so I'm going to show you the suite first so you can see it in a little bit more detail. So here we have the suite. The Country Wood suite can be found at the start of the suite can be found on page 48. We've got it's a double page spread, and in here it shows you some examples of projects that they've created with the suite. Now it is a real whopper of a suite. You can scan the QR code on the top left of the page, and that will take you to the products in the Stampin' Up store. What I really like about the images in this new catalogue is they break it down really, really nicely. So we're going to start by looking at this card here, which is just the stamps. We're then going to step it up by using some dies. And then it also gives you projects using the whole suite or just a few bits and pieces from the suite. As we turn the page onto page 50 and 51, here is the suite broken down in a little bit more detail. So the whole suite includes 2 stamp sets and die bundles, Country Birdhouse and Country Flowers. There are 2 packs of designer series paper. One is all wood textures, and I didn't think I would like it, and after playing with it on Saturday, I'm obsessed. And item number 9 is textures, patterns of designer series papers. There's an embossing folder, some ribbon, and some pearls as well. The colour combination for the designer series paper is shown in the code at the bottom of page 50. And those colours are Petal Pink, Pool Party, Misty Moonlight, Pecan Pie, Basic Beige, and Smoky Slate. So that's the suite that I'm going to be sharing with you tonight. And I will grab the papers to kick us off. Now I've used these for a sampler frame class that I will be holding in July, and I've focused mainly on the wood papers. I'll give you a little sneak peek of the project. Booking for this class closes on the 12th. This is the frame, and I won't show it in too much detail because I don't want to spoil it for people that are booked on, but I'm obsessed with sampler frames, and I always try to run a sampler frame class from each catalogue, And this catalogue, I couldn't help but use the Country Birdhouse and Country Flowers products. So here we go. Here are the stamp sets. So Country Birdhouse, you've got the cute little birdhouse. It's a line drawn image. No texture is built into that stamp set, so you can really use that with your stamps and your dies. You've got a little birdie, some texture backgrounds. You've got wood grain texture stamp, and you've got some little flowers and then some really pretty sentiments. This one I really like. Hoping you have the best day ever. Happy birthday and hello friend. And then we move on to the Country Flowers stamp set. The Country Flowers stamp set is what I would call a two-step stamp set, which means that you can build the images and you can mix and match them together. You've got a cute little stool, a churn, I guess that would be, a teapot, and then you've got some floral images and then some sentiments with heartfelt sympathy, best friend ever, sending love, and so lucky to know you. Now, I was a little bit stuck with what to do with this week, so I went to my guru, Patty Bennett, and I watched her video, her live last week, and it really gave me a good starting point. So if you too like to be inspired by other demonstrators, do check out Patty Bennett's video live from last week on this. She's on YouTube. You can just pop her in the search engine and she'll come up. She's been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for many years, and she is really quite heartwarming to watch. I love listening to her, and she's got a really lovely, calm way of explaining things. So starting off with these papers, these are the Country Lace Designer Series papers. So lots of different patterns in here in very neutral colours. Quite soft patterns. They're not too in your face. They would work really well for scrapbooking and many other things. And then the wood papers. So the wood papers, I've used nearly every sheet. There are 12 sheets of 12 by 12 papers in each pack, and I've used nearly all of the wood ones. So this is a really nice striped wood grain. It really reminds me of sort of worn or tired beaches or beach huts. You've got a blue grain on the back. You've got some stripes. You've got a larger sort of wood, brown wood. Then you've got some more. And basically I could keep going, but I think that's all the papers I've got left from the wood set. So I'm going to kick us off with a couple of simple stamping suggestions first. Evening Maria, evening Margaret, thanks for joining me tonight. I'm just starting to craft, so you are just in time. Now this will make you laugh. I'm a demonstrator who makes probably 30 cards a month, is always designing projects. This is how much white card I have. I have really dropped the ball on keeping up my supplies, and that's all I've got. So I'm waiting for my delivery. I've got one due tomorrow, and I hope it's got white card in, but I'm not convinced. So send me best wishes. So I'm going to just cut this down a little bit, and I'm going to stamp some of these images. I'm going to go for a simple sort of stamped card to start, and then I'm going to show you how you can step it up with those papers. So this is just regular basic white card. It's not the thick, it's the standard thickness. And I'm going to stamp a couple of these images. Now, I've had a little move around in here. I've had a little bit of a sort out, and I won't lie, I've no idea where anything is. So this is going to be interesting tonight. So I'm going to stamp me one of these. This is my favourite flower display, and I'm going to stamp in Memento. So a black ink I'm going to stamp these with. So I'm going to give that a really nice coverage and stamp. I'm going to be naughty. I'm not going to clean my stamp as I go, but I will do this at the end. I've got a leaf. I really love this leaf. the leaf like so. I've got more than one block. I don't need to keep taking it off. I can just use another block. And I'm going to do the churn. The churn is really pretty. And I'm going to do 2 churns. The churn is my favourite container image on this set. And then lastly, I'm going to use the stall. Great. So those are my stamped images. I'm going to colour with Stampin' Blend pens. So Stampin' Blend pens look like this. Show it on the right way. These come in a combo pack, so you get 2 pens, and they are in the same colour. So Parakeet Party, this is, for example, it's an old colour. I'm just using it as an example. So you get 2 pens. One is a light shade and one is a dark shade. On one end of the pen, there is a brush tip, so a felt tip, would you say? And on the other, you've got a sort of more of a pointed end that is good for adding detail. Comes in, you can get blends in nearly every one of the Stampin' Up! Colours, and they do what they say on the tin. The idea is you can blend the 2 colours together. They're alcohol based, so you will need to use them with a Memento ink pad. Don't use them with a water based ink pad, and be mindful that the colour will bleed through your card, and you want that because it means that your card is absorbing that paper and you're getting the best out of those pens. So I'm going to start with some very, very simple colouring. I'm not going to overcomplicate this too much at all. I'm going to start with Lemon Lolly. Okay, Lemon Lolly is one of our newer colours, and it's been around only for a year now. It was part of the colour refresh, and it is part of the Subtles family. Okay, so I've used the light there and then the dark. Now, listening to Patty Bennett the other day, my guru, she said that if you were to leave them to dry, you will get more definition between the 2 colours, rather than it all blending into one. So I'm going to show you how I've achieved that in this video, and I'm going to just keep colouring. I'm going to use Peach Pie. I always start with the light shade, and I tend to start with the biggest image. So the flower that I've coloured in yellow, for me, that's got the biggest surface image. So this is just an initial layer of the lighter shade. So what other colours work well with that? A nice pink would work well with it. So let's go for Pretty Pink. Peach Pie and Pretty Pink are 2 of our in colours that came out, that launched with this new catalogue. And they are some of my favourite in colours we've ever seen. And then I'm going to do Highland Heather as well. So I'm going with lots of different pastel colours on my card today. Is this light or is this dark? This is light. It feels quite dark. It might be a new pen though. The nib feels quite new. Once you coloured them, they are well used, so to speak. The nibs do sort of go they have a nice feel to them. When you first start with them, they can feel a bit scratchy. So those are my colours there. And then I'm going to use Lemon Lime Twist for the base of my leaves. So Maria's, but I'm never happy with my blends colouring. Tell me more, Maria. Tell me what makes you unhappy with it. Okay. So now I've done that, I can go in with some extra colour. So this is Dark Lemon Lolly. I want to add just a few. There's not a huge difference between dark and light Lemon Lolly. Let's try the other end. Sometimes one end can be darker than the other, and I like to think it's to do with how they've been stored, but I've stored mine flat, so it shouldn't be. So I'm just adding a little bit of depth now to my image. Light never looks like others do. Do you know what, Maria? Mine, I could say the same about mine. I think you get to the stage where you just have to be happy with what you've done. And if you've enjoyed the process, then I always find that helps as well. So if you notice there's not a huge amount of difference between the shades, what you can do is just keep going over the same area. The idea with blends is that you can just keep adding more and more ink if you want to, but just be aware that it will dry. It will dry lighter. Let's go for some Highland Heather. But Maria, I would suggest, if you're genuinely not pleased with it and you'd like to have a look at how others achieve the look, definitely go and watch Patty Bennett. Honestly, she will change the way you look at your blends and how you colour. She's definitely changed the way I use mine. So I'm just using 2 of the same colour, but what Patty Bennett talks about is she talks about using different colours. And on the sampler frame that I showed you at the beginning, that's what I've done. I've used lots of different colours. You should see the list of colours that I've used in that class. It's really quite extraordinary how many colours I've used. Okay. So that's my image. There's not a huge amount of shading on there, but I'm pleased with that. The colours look solid. I'll just see if I will let me. They are. My colours look solid, and I'm happy with that. I don't really feel like I need a huge amount of shading. So for the green leaf, I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to colour the whole image first with light lemon lolly. And when I do my first layer, I don't tend to be too precise with my colour, because what that's going to do is that's going to help give you some shading already. So I'm going to leave that to dry, and in the meantime I'm going to colour in my tub, and I'm going to colour in my tub with Smoky Slate. So let's do light. No, actually I'm lying to you, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to colour my stool with Smoky Slate. So here again, I'm just getting that colour onto the image. And then I'm going to leave that to dry. Now, my tub, I'm going to colour with Summer Splash. Summer Splash is my new favourite in colour. And let's just get that colour on. It's really bright, and I'm going for bright with these cards. You'll notice I'm not sort of scrubbing with the brush. I'm getting a really light sound with the pen. So those colours all look really, really nice together. So this is Summer Splash, this is Lemon Lime Twist, this is Smoky Slate, and then in here I've got Highland Heather, Lemon Lime Twist, Lemon Lolly, Peach Pie, and Petal Pink, of which I've just realised, not Petal Pink, Pretty in Pink. I haven't coloured any of this, so let's just do that now. Super. So now I'm going to think about my leaf, and I'm going to add a little bit of depth now to those leaves. So I'm thinking that the darkest part of the leaf is going to be near the stem. So I'm starting with that part, and I'm sort of dragging the colour into the leaf. I wish I knew all the technical terms for colouring, but I don't. Okay, so we're starting to get a bit of definition there. Is there a difference between Summer Splash and Pool Party? Yes, there is. I'll show you. So Summer Splash, this is light, and this is dark. It's almost like a light Bermuda Bay, if you can think back to that colour. And then this is Pool Party. So this is dark Pool Party. And this is light Pool Party. So there is a real difference in those two colours. I love them both though equally. So I've done my first little set of shading, and now I'm going to go back in and do another little layer, but don't pull the colour out as far. Now at this stage, I would also add another colour. So watch what happens when I add grey apple green. So this is dark, well, this is light. This is dark granny apple green. So if I just lift that up so you can see it. Come on. So that's my just lemon lime twist. Now, if I add some dark granny apple green, you get even more texture in there, even more sort of shading in there. And this is what these pens are designed for, to use multiple colours together to create really detailed images. So that's like that. I'm really happy with that. And I'm now just going to go over and blend between the two. So where the edge of the dark granny apple green finishes, I'm going over with a light lemon lime twist to just add in to blend it all together. And I just keep going over that until I'm happy. So if I now lift that up, we've got more depth there. And I'm going to leave that to dry, and I'll go back to my stool and my tub. So thinking about where the shadows are going to be, underneath the stool, the tops of the legs are going to be in the shadows. So I'm adding some dark colour there. And then at the edge of the stool, there's going to be shadows there as well. There we go. So already that's starting to look better. I'm now going to go over with my smoky slate. And blend. I quite like that. And I'm not putting any sort of colour in the middle because I want that to be where the lightest point is. And then for the tub, let's do the same. I'm thinking there's going to be a bit of shadow here and here. So do you think that's starting to look textured? I do. And then again, go over with the light shade. What do you think? Let me know what you think in the comments. And then whilst you're doing that, I'm going to cut these images out. And thankfully, there is a die. Oh, that's the birdhouse. We don't want the birdhouse. We want country flowers. Let's have one of these. That's the die for that one. And this is the leaf. And that is the churn. Grab myself a little post-it note. I'm just going to put all my lens that I've used over to one side, and I will cut these out now. Oh, I didn't get the stall out. Let's get the stall as well. So do tell me, is this a product you've got on your wish list, or is it not something that you've considered as yet? I'm just securing this with a post-it note. I've recently moved from washi tape to post-it notes because they don't have so much stick. Because these are images I've coloured in, I don't really want to ruin any of my colouring. Let's pull this through. Okay, so there is my leaf. Here is my pot, and the pot even cuts out the handle, which is just great. And then I want my flowers and my stall. Okay, flowers, and then the stall. I'm looking forward to building this card now. So let's move that to one side, and then I can show you my images. So I have my stall, I have my pot, and I have my flowers. Oh, it's a bit high, you can't see it. And I have my leaf. So if I wanted to, I could put both of those in together, but I don't. I'm just going to use, should I just use the leaf? I'm just going to use the leaf, you know, and I'm going to save this for what I'm going to do afterwards. So let's bring in some of these papers. Oh, here comes my cup of tea. Thank you very much, husband.
Very welcome. Put it there.
Yep, perfect. Thank you. I'm going to use some of this textured paper. This has got a really subtle stripe in it. It's basic beige in the background, and it's got a white subtle stripe, and it almost looks like wallpaper, or maybe I had wallpaper like that and it just reminds me. So I want the stripes to go across the page, so I'm going to cut myself a piece that is 14.4 centimetres tall, and I want a piece that is 10 centimetres wide. And whilst we're here, we'll cut a nice card base as well. So there's my background layer. And for the first time, I'm going to use a basic beige card. Basic beige is one of our new colours that launched this year. And it's a little bit lighter, for those of you that can remember. Sahara Sand is just a little bit lighter than that. So here I have my basic beige. I'll cut that right. I didn't. 14.4 I should have cut it, and I cut it 14.9. How silly of me. So there we have our background layer. Now I'm also going to cut, while we're here, a little die, and I'm going to use perennial postage. I haven't used these a great deal. It's taken me a little while to fall in love with them. But I'm going to use them now. So I'm going to cut myself a layer of this from white card. And can I get it out of here? I can, that's good news. So let me just cut one of those out. Please, these dies have carried over. Okay, so this is my die cut. So now let's add these together. It's not bad. It needs something. I'm going to use a piece of this wood paper. Let's cut a piece. How wide is this? Actually, I've changed my mind altogether. I'm going to cut this from the wood. I feel like this makes more sense in my brain. Yeah, let's cut this out. What was the name of the last die I used? It is perennial postage dies, or at least I think that's what they're called. Let me check. Yeah, perennial postage dies. They were new in the January to April mini catalogue, and they have carried over into this new catalogue. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure. I feel like it needs to have some dark on it, and this is almost like a browny black colour. So the distance between the start of that indent and this indent is 7.5, so let's say 7 centimetres, and let's say 10.5 there. So that's 7 by 10.5. So remember that measurement, gang. 7 by 10.5. So let's do 7 by 10.5. I want this white panel to sit inside that die. Okay, great. You can probably just take a couple of millimetres off. It feels like it's a bit uneven. So that's probably 7 or 6.8. That's better. Okay, yes, this is much, much better. So I'm going to stick this piece to this piece. There we go. And then I've got my basic beige DSP. See a few people have just joined. Hello everyone. Thanks for hopping on this evening. Okay. So I have that layer, that layer. That looks really, really nice. I like those colours together. And I'm going to do a little bit of doodling around this edge because that's my thing. So I'm just using a black fine line pen and I'm drawing a little line around the edge of that white card. It just helps focus the eye, and it's a little bit more detail we can add. Okay, that's great. Let's stick that down. I'm going to stick that down with some foam sheet. So because this is quite a large die, I'm going to cut myself a piece of this foam sheet. This is really, really handy to have in your stash. And it's great for using with big dies rather than a million different dimensionals. Okay, so let's pop that on there. And then I've got my stall to build. I quite like that I've used a really bright colour for that pot. It's really quite nice. Oh, I've got a fly in here now, which is just what I need. So my stall is there, and then this pot and the leaves I'm going to put on pads. So it's quite a little bit of height on this card. And then I'm just going to trim down that edge where the die moved ever so slightly. There's quite a bit of white space there. So let's get rid of that. Put my pot on, and then the leaves. Okay. Make sure the leaves go on up the right way. So that looks really nice. I think that looks like a nice card. A few little things to finish it off. I'm going to add a little bit of shading underneath where this would be. Once I've done that, it looks a bit rough around the edges at the moment. Now I'm going to go in with the colour lifter. Just take some of that colour away. And it's just meant to look like a shadow. Perfect. You see that? Just a little shadow. Let's see if we can see it now. That's it, just a little shadow under those legs. Really like that. Okay, so once I've done that, it needs a sentiment. So in my little set here, I've got best friend ever. Oh, I've got sending love, so lucky to know you. Let's go sending love. I feel like that's a really nice sentiment to use. I've got a little scrap of white card, and I'm going to stamp that in black because we've used quite a bit of black on here, and I feel like the dark colours really work with that brightness of that pot. I'm lining that up at the bottom of my piece of white card, and then I'm just going to cut it out. And what I want to do, what I love about this sentiment is you've got some straight lines, and then you've got some shaped detail at the end from the word love. Just cutting around that nice font. Perfect. So you've got the straight line with the curve of the font at the other end. Just managed to get glue on my desk, and let's pop that about there. Really pretty. And I'm going to finish that off with a couple of pearls. Okay, so now let's have a couple of little pearls dotted around. And you've got matte dots in here, and you've got shiny dots. And you have a really nice, soft grey colour. Someone's put, I've been watching on my big screen, loving your card. Have a blessed day. Thank you very much. That's Ramona. And love how you cut the saying out. Yeah, I do really like sayings, sentiments that are, I've got 2 different fonts on them. I really do like that. So I'm just going to layer up a piece inside my cards. I'm going to cut this down to 9.5 by 13.9. And that's going to give us a really nice layer inside our card. I'm going to go around the edge with my black pen just to bring some of that detail on the outside inside. Now I'm a huge fan of houseplants. So if someone were to send me this card, I'd be very, very happy indeed. And let's pop that in there. And there we have it. That is the first card all finished. There's quite a lot of white space on that card, but I'm going to lean into it. And I really like how the brightness of the leaves and the pot work against that plainish sort of light background. I definitely think that the dark die cut really lifts it and brings it all together. I think if I'd have used the white die cut, this one originally, it wouldn't have come out so well, but I really like that. Just having a little slurp of my tea. Let me know what you think in the comments of that card. I'm going to move on to my second card, and as I promised you all a little bit more of that DSP, I'm going to show you a couple of little techniques to use with your stamps. So I have not used my flowers that I've coloured, so we're going to hang on to that. We're going to use that with on our next card. Okay, so I'm going to stick with my card base of Basic Beige. Move that out of the way. So I'm going to score that at 10.5. Card is beautiful. Thank you very much, Ramona. Really pleased to have you here. So let's do a little bit of stamping. So you've seen how that die works. Sorry, how the images look when you stamp them onto white cards. So let's do some stamping onto some of this wood paper, shall we? So you'll notice here, this is, I would call this a laminate flooring piece. It looks like laminate flooring. I'm going to stamp my stall onto it. Okay. Because most stall, this looks to me like a wooden stall, so you have texture, don't you? So this is a way of getting texture onto your stall without doing anything fancy. So I'm going to stamp it twice. Oh, silly fly. It's buzzing around my head. So here we have the first stall, just stamped, and I'm going to colour onto this one. And I'm going to use some crumb cake. So I've got dark crumb cake and I've got light crumb cake. I say I've got light. Here we go. So I'm going to colour onto the DSP. And I'm not going to bring that colour into the middle. So already it's starting to look more realistic. And now I'm going in with the dark crumb cake. And I'm adding my shading in exactly the same areas as I did on the first card. So which one do you prefer? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to go over with the light, and now I'm going to just bring it all together. So I definitely prefer the one that's coloured. I mean, this looks fab, really nice, but the one that's been coloured in just works, I think. So let's now cut that out. I'm actually going to cut that out with my scissors because I want to get quite close to those lines. Here we go, I'll just show you again. I'm really happy with that. I want to get really, really close, and I want to cut out between those legs. Because I've stamped it onto the patterned paper, I think if you were to die cut it, there's quite a bit of space that it would show that paper, and I just don't want that. So I'm just following that round, taking it nice and slowly, keeping my scissors really controlled. If you notice, I'm not moving the scissors. My hand has stayed in the same place. What I'm doing is I'm moving the paper. Now that technique takes a while to get used to, but once you start cutting out like that, you get such a better result and your hands don't hurt as much. Okay, so there is my stall. So there we have the one I've coloured in versus the one with the wood texture. I love the wood texture. Now I haven't used the birdhouse, and that's fine. We will use the birdhouse on another day. So let's stamp us. What have I got here? I need my pot. I'm going to do my pot in this dark paper. Actually, no, that's quite... Right, let's do the pot in this blue paper. So we're sticking with a very similar colour theme. So let's stamp this onto the paper. And I want to add a little bit of colour on this as well. So on this one, I'm going to use my Pool Party blends. So I'm going to use my dark Pool Party. And again, I'm going to put my shading in exactly the same positions. So that's the dark. And I've done this the other way around, actually. I've done the dark before I've done the light. But you know what? It's going to be okay. Okay, so there's my pot. So it's just given a little bit more depth to that image. And it's going to look fab on our stall with our flowers. So now let's just trim out this pot. I'm going to keep really close to that line. Now to cut out there, I'm going to just snip through the handle. And then when I stick this down, I will reattach the handle with a little bit of tape. Okay, so I've got my stall, I've got my pot, and I've got my flowers. But you know what I don't like about this? I don't like that you can see the white. So I'm going to use my light crumb cake blend, and I'm going to just really lightly colour in the white space. And this will hopefully make everything come together. I'm going to follow a very similar design on this card to the first card. And this is drying really lightly as well, so it looks quite dark when I'm putting it on, but actually as it's drying it's going quite a bit lighter. Okay, so that looks good, and I feel like that has just done the trick of that. So I've got my final card base, I've got my pieces, and I've got my die. So on my die I'm gonna, do you remember that measurement? I don't remember that measurement that I did at the beginning, so we'll have to measure it again. Now what DSP have I got here? This one would work well, which is the back of that nice brown that I've used. So my measurement, if I do believe, it was 7 centimetres by probably 9.8. So let's do 7 by 9.8. So let's do 9. That is longer than 9.8. Yes, so let's do 7 by 9.8. Well, that's just wide enough. So I'm just reversing what I've done on that first card on this second card. Yeah, that's good. Actually, no, I think it's too narrow. I definitely cut the width down. So let's just take a couple of millimetres off that. Very precise. That's much better. So let's stick this down. So this time we've got a wood texture background. And I'm going to put my line, still going to do my line, but I'm putting it onto the die cut around the external edge of the DSP, whereas before I drew on the white card piece. So I've got that and I've got that. I want a little bit of a layer in the background. I'm liking it, it's coming together. It needs a little bit of a layer there. Now this is a really nice piece of just texture. It looks almost like a canvas texture. So let's do that in the background. So it's nice and subtle. So let's do 10 centimetres by 14.4. And stick this to the front of the card. Oh yeah, that sits on there just nicely. Just lifts it. Let's have another piece of this. I want some more of that adhesive foam sheet. Such nice patterns, these papers. And then I've got my stall. I might put this to the side on this one. Just to be different. And then the pot. And then the flowers on top. I really like that. And then I've got my sentiments. So look, the two cards, although they are same design, they look fairly different. So this time I'm going to use, I feel like that's too big. Let's do with heartfelt sympathy. Don't like making these cards, but sadly they are there is a demand for them. So stamping again with the black ink. And then I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to keep it nice and straight around part of it, and then follow that lovely, lovely font for the other part. Because I've put this to the design to one side, I've got a bit more room for a bigger sentiment. So this should work perfectly, I hope. So again, just nice and controlled with my scissors, following that edge of that font around, trying to be consistent with that white border. And then now come onto that bit. Oh, I like it. I think that looks good. Let's put a little dimensional underneath that section. Perfect. And then I've got a few gems to just finish up with, if I can find them on my crazy desk. Oh, I put them over here. But there's probably no 10. Oh no, they're up there. They're on my little shelf, which is a really sensible place to put them. Okay, I need a little strip inside, so let's just grab a piece of white. Okay, so I'd love to know which card is your favourite. So let's vote card number 1 or card number 2. And it's a close call for me, I think. So let's just trim this down. Let's do 9.5 by 13.9. Just got to draw my line around there. I've been live with you guys for just over an hour. That's not too bad. 2 cards in an hour. I said I would use both stamp set and die sets, but the country flowers got the better of me. But I hope I've showed you a few different techniques to get the most out of that stamp set and using those lovely papers, which can be a little bit overwhelming. When the papers are so bold, you can sometimes be a little bit overwhelmed by them. But what I've done is I've just broken them down. I've used them in different ways, and I hope that that's inspired you a little bit. If you have any comments or questions about the products or techniques I've used, or you just wanted to reach out, I'd love to hear from you. There's a contact me form on my website, or there is my email address, I believe, is in the video description of this post on YouTube. As I mentioned at the start, all of the products I've used are available to purchase from my online store. Throughout the month of June, there is a sale on the bundles. The bundles are reduced by an extra 10%, so there's 20% off of the products when purchases a bundle until the end of June. When you place an order of £45 or more throughout the month of June, you will receive a kit for my monthly card class if you're here in the UK. That's completely complimentary, and you will receive the instructions, the videos, and the kit to make the cards at home. I am running a class with this suite in July. It's a sampler frame class. If you wanted to see a little sneak peek of that, it's shown at the beginning of this video. And this set will also be the feature of my online coffee and card class for the month of August. So if you wanted any more information on any of those classes, please reach out. If not, booking is open for the sampler frame class until the end of end of Wednesday. That's it from me, guys. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you're new to watching my videos, feel free to subscribe. I tend to go live weekly, twice a week, once on a Monday at 8:30 and once on a Thursday lunchtime. And Thursday lunchtime is a craft along, so I will share some measurements and products that I've used on Wednesday, and you can either craft along with me or make the projects at a later date. So I will share this week's details on Wednesday afternoon. And if you have any questions in the lead up to that, please do get in touch. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope you have a lovely week, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon. Bye for now.